Welcome to Vedic Bytes 360. Today we journey into one of the most beloved and profound stories from the Bhagavata Purana, a story about God's love for his devotees, the power of surrender, and the grace that comes when all else fails. This is the story of Gajendra Moksha, the liberation of the Elephant King. Long ago, on the sacred peaks of ancient India, there lived a great king named Indradyumna. He was a devoted follower of Lord Vishnu, spending his days in prayer, fasting, and deep meditation. His kingdom flourished because of his righteousness. One day, the revered sage Agastya arrived at his palace. The king, deeply absorbed in divine contemplation, failed to rise and greet the sage with proper respect. Agastya, though himself a great soul, felt the sting of this slight. He pronounced a curse. Since you behave like an elephant, dull and unaware of your surroundings, you shall become one. And so, in the blink of an eye, the mighty king was transformed, but within the heart of this great elephant lived the seeds of his unbroken devotion to God. The cursed king was reborn as Gajendra, a name meaning Lord of Elephants. Though he had lost his human form and his memories of past lives, his spirit remained noble and immensely powerful. He ruled over the vast, ancient forests of Mount Trikuta with a grace and authority that all creatures recognized. Hundreds of elephants followed him wherever he went. The forest itself seemed to bow in his presence. Mighty trees parted, rivers slowed, and even the birds hushed their songs as Gajendra walked. He was the undisputed king of his domain, powerful beyond measure, fearless, magnificent. Yet within this enormous body lived the soul of a king who had once loved the Lord, a love that time and transformation could not erase. One blazing summer afternoon, Gajendra led his great herd down to the magnificent Lake Ratumant, a jewel nestled at the foot of Mount Trikuta. Its waters were cool, crystal clear, and fragrant with thousands of blooming lotus flowers in every color: pink, white, violet, and gold. The air shimmered with fragrance and birdsong. The elephants trumpeted with joy and plunged into the water, spraying each other and drinking deeply. Gajendra himself waded in, scooping water with his great trunk and pouring it over his massive body in delight. He gathered a beautiful lotus flower in his trunk, for even in his animal form, some ancient devotion stirred within him, as if his soul remembered what his mind had forgotten. It was in this paradise that fate had set its trap. Without warning, from the dark, deep waters below, a massive crocodile lunged and clamped its terrible jaws around Gajendra's leg. The grip was like iron. The waters churned. Gajendra roared with pain and fury, pulling with all his enormous strength. The other elephants panicked. Some tried to help, grabbing Gajendra's body and pulling, but the crocodile would not release. One by one, exhausted and terrified, the other elephants retreated to the shore. Gajendra was alone in the deep water, locked in a battle unlike any he had faced. But this crocodile was no ordinary beast. It was Huhu, once a great Gandharva king of the celestial realm, who had offended the powerful sage Devala, while the sage bathed in a sacred river. For his disrespect, Devala had cursed him to live as a crocodile in these very waters, waiting. Destiny had arranged this meeting across lifetimes. What followed was one of the most extraordinary battles in all of creation. For what seemed like an eternity, the scriptures say 1,000 years, Gajendra and the crocodile struggled in those sacred waters. Each creature was supremely powerful in its element. On land, Gajendra was unmatched, But in water, the crocodile's grip only tightened. The sun rose and set. Seasons changed. Ages passed. Gajendra pulled with all his might, dragging the crocodile toward the shallows. Then the crocodile would pull back, drawing Gajendra deeper, where his strength failed him. The great tree trunk legs of Gajendra trembled with exhaustion. His noble head drooped. The trumpeting that had once shaken the entire forest faded to labored breathing. His herd had long since disappeared into the jungle. He was utterly alone, imprisoned by the jaws of fate, with no hope from the world he had once ruled. As Gajendra's strength finally began to fail, something profound stirred deep within him. The physical fight was almost lost. The crocodile's grip remained firm. But in this moment of absolute despair and surrender, when he had nothing left, something deeper than memory awakened. All of Gajendra's worldly pride was gone. His power, his herd, his forest kingdom, they had all abandoned him. None of it mattered now. None of it could save him. The sages have always taught that worldly strength is illusion, but the love of God is real. In this moment, Gajendra understood it not as a teaching, but as lived truth. From somewhere beyond ordinary memory, from the depths of his soul that spanned many lifetimes, the ancient words of surrender began to rise. He was no longer the king of elephants. He was simply a soul crying out for God. With his very last remaining strength, Gajendra raised his trunk above the water. In it, he held a single sacred lotus flower. And from the absolute depths of his being, from across lifetimes of devotion, he cried out to the Lord, "O Supreme Being, O Master of all creation, you who existed before this universe was born, you who will remain after it ends, I take refuge in you alone. I am bound by this body, this life, these circumstances pity, but you are free, eternal, and all-knowing. I offer myself completely to you. I do not ask for my life. I do not beg for freedom. I only offer you this lotus and my love. Whoever you are, the one beyond all names, please receive me." This prayer is known as the Gajendra Stuti, one of the most luminous hymns in the Bhagavata Purana. It is not a bargain with God. It is the complete offering of the self, and God heard. The moment Gajendra's prayer reached the heavens, something extraordinary happened. Lord Vishnu, seated in divine bliss in Vaikuntha, attended by celestial beings, surrounded by the music of the gods, suddenly stirred. He felt Gajendra's cry not merely as a sound, but as a wave of pure love crashing against his heart. Without a moment's hesitation, the Lord sprang to action. The scriptures describe this as one of Vishnu's most defining moments, a moment that reveals who God truly is. He did not pause to dress properly. He did not wait for protocol or ceremony. He did not summon attendants or send a messenger first. He simply leaped onto his divine eagle Garuda with such urgency that the Sudarshana chakra began spinning in his hand and the great conch Panchajanya blazed with celestial light. This is the secret hidden in the story. When a devotee surrenders completely, God comes running. Not walking, running. Garuda, the golden eagle king, mount of Lord Vishnu, spread his wings. In a single instant, he crossed the vast cosmic distances that separate heavenly realms from earthly ones. The speed of divine grace recognizes no obstacle. The gods in the heavens look down in wonder. Even the great sages pause their deep meditations to witness this sight. The preserver of the universe rushing headlong through the sky, his dark form like a monsoon cloud, his golden ornaments flashing like lightning. The celestial beings whisper to each other in awe, "See how the Lord hastens. See how love moves God. Below, on the earth, the lake still churned. Gajendra's grip on the lotus flower still trembled with exhaustion. The crocodile still held firm. And then there was light and the sound of great wings, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. With a single devastating throw, Lord Vishnu hurled his Sudarshana chakra, the divine disk of light, blazing, spinning, unstoppable, cut through the crocodile's grip and separated it from Gajendra in an instant. 1,000 years of bondage ended in a single second. As the crocodile's body fell back into the waters, something miraculous happened. From within it rose a shining, luminous form, Huhu, the Gandharva king, restored to his celestial nature, radiant and free from his ancient curse. He bowed deeply to Lord Vishnu, tears streaming down his face in gratitude, and ascended to his proper realm in the heavens. Gajendra stood free on the shore, shaking and trembling, exhausted beyond all measure, but alive and free. And then Lord Vishnu himself descended from Garuda and placed his hand, that hand which holds the fate of all universes, gently on Gajendra's great head. In that single divine touch, everything that Gajendra had ever been or ever suffered was redeemed. In that divine moment of liberation, Gajendra too shed his animal form. The soul of King Indradyumna, the devoted king who had spent lifetimes reaching toward God, was finally, completely released. Before him stood the Lord of all creation, smiling with infinite compassion. The story was now fully told. The crocodile had been Hu, a heavenly Gandharva singer cursed by the sage Devala for disturbing his meditation by grabbing his leg, just as the crocodile had grabbed Gajendra's leg. What we do to others returns to us in cosmic time, and Gajendra had been Indradyumna, cursed by Agastya for apparent disrespect, but his devotion to Vishnu had never truly died. It had only waited like a lotus seed in the mud for the right moment to bloom. Now both souls stood transformed and radiant before the Lord. The curse was not punishment, it was a path, and the suffering was not meaningless. It was the very instrument of their liberation. The story of Gajendra Moksha carries teachings that have sustained humanity for thousands of years. First, that life's suffering, however great, however long, can become the very doorway to liberation, but only when we stop relying on our own strength and turn completely to God. Second, that God's response to sincere surrender is immediate, not gradual, not conditional, immediate. Third, that true prayer is not a list of requests or a bargain with the divine. True prayer is the offering of our helplessness. It is saying simply, I cannot do this alone. I have tried everything. You are my only refuge. Gajendra's hymn is recited every morning by millions of Hindus across the world, not as a ritual but as a reminder of who we are when all our defenses fall away, a reminder that God is closer than our own heartbeat. When you feel overwhelmed, when your strength is gone, when the world has fallen silent around you, remember Gajendra, remember that the lotus in your outstretched hand is enough. God comes running. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that God's grace is always available, always running toward those who call out in sincerity, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Like this video, subscribe to Vedic Bytes 360, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hari Om, Namaste.